speak of a type of a family that extends beyond the four walls of what we call the home. I'm hearing you say something that recognizes that family is a sense of soil and blood.
Very much blood, very much.
And I'm hearing you tell me something about a usage of the word mom, and its universal connection, thereby so shared by the sibling of your mother, but also empowered by anyone who is able to connect to the reality of we came from the same, if you will, well.
It could be any woman from Zimbabwe or anywhere. They see me there and they say, oh, that's Kuda right there and he's hurting, but where's his mom? His mom is not there. That's my child. That's my child.
That's right.
She'll get up and you say, that's my child, and she'll become the mom.
That's right.
You know, and that's how it is.
That's right.
You know?
Okay, so that's what I see we are doing as a country, is that there is a maternal that's rising up and saying, that's my child. My concern is your aunt is going to say, that's my child. She's going to get you. And then she's going to actually take from her own energy to feed, care, nurture you. I'm concerned about those who are now rising up and saying, stop the separation, but I am not going to be there
after you do
now
reconciliation. Yeah.
So what indeed is a true heart of the mother has a bit of a fashionable mother. It has a bit of what would be considered the nun, who is there to correct, to scold, to educate, but the nurture, the feeding, you go back to where you came from. I'm not suggesting that there's anything right about this concept. What I am saying is that the storyline of what we would say love is the absence of separation. And there is a separate self that rises up, if you will, in us being the concept that I could be something lower formed, and in so doing there's a separate identity or a subset of nutritional deficiencies that act themselves out, and in so doing, when one does such separation, one steps out of even the concept or notion of what love or the concept of lack of separation is. So we're not only hearing about separation, we're hearing it so much that it's becoming the superpower, the hidden fear that we could become separated. The first formation that I'm hearing you say, and it wasn't just because of the soil, Zimbabwe, but you were speaking about the fact that this child is never going to be separated from me. Even if it's on the other side of a wall, it's going to be my child. Now that's the first empowering piece. Let me say this to you. I can tell you that I grew up in an environment where my experience directly with my father was short-lived, but I have connection no matter what the situation. And that awareness has kept me and sustained me. Never ever have I thought, well, you're one of these statistics who grew up, you didn't have a dad. What do you mean you didn't have a dad? What do you mean? At any given point, I absolutely did. The voice of it lives within me. It lives within you.
There's no duration of time that says, then I had a dad because he's been next to me for a period of 10 years or what long. That connection, like you said, that connection is what breeds the fatherhood, the nurture that stays with you, that instills that value that you grow up with. Yes, I have a dad. Because I remember what he told me.
Yes.
He's still telling me right now.
Come on.
He's still telling me, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So to take a child and to separate them, yes, literally is horrifying. It's dreadful. But to take the child and make them think that they could be separated is an atrocity. The empowering factor is to recognize that if your child is taken, the one thing a mother, a woman, a father should be at rest with is that another human, an empathetic human, will reach out and do what they would do if they were with their child. That no, my child may not be here, but they will be eating because someone will see them. Now, my mother grew up during a time when she would say it this way. She would say, I would get a scolding at school, and then as I'm walking home, if someone heard that I did something at school improperly, they would scold me, spank me, beat me. But these terms now sound abusive.
Yes.
And at that time, it was actually not thought of as being abusive. It was more thought of as a loving action. And then my mother would get home, and they didn't have social networking.
Yes.
So I knew my mother was the keeper of the story. So the child was taught to tell their story everywhere. Unfettered, truth was the factor. Would get home, what happened? Well, I spoke abruptly to the teacher. The teacher spanked me. I was walking home and they saw me crying and they said, "What did you do?" And I said, "Well, I spoke to the teacher. They would spank me." Now I'm home, mother. And mother would go, "What did you do?"
It's a tenfold scolding, and that is very familiar in the culture that I grew up with in Zimbabwe, because if I did something wrong and my dad or my mother scolded me first, you better believe there's a second one coming. So it wasn't just a one-time thing. And if I lived with my uncles too, you better believe they're gonna sit me down and say, "So what happened?" And they're gonna talk to me, and then they're gonna give me their own verbal scolding, or in whatever fashion or manner that is.
Right.
It's gonna come from whoever you have a connection with,
Yes.
whoever that's nurturing you, whoever
Yes.
that instills that value in you,
Yes.
is always gonna carry that on,
Yes.
no matter what you do.
Yes.
So that translates to being scolded by them too.
Yes.
So it's not just a loving, hey,
Yes.
it translates to being the parent that you were born with, you know?
Yes.
So,
and that's the other term of art, and I spoke about this just a second ago, is that we might need to relanguage, because we may not be pairs that are renting. That old ideology is not working any longer, because a pair that's renting, you're renting it from a stronger power. So for me to say parent is,
and what is that stronger power?
it is the governing of your mind, or put together in a way to become ignored, the government. So I'm saying that the government is a true. Go ahead.
And if I may stop you, what is the government? And then now we start to break it down. We're saying,
Okay, I'll go there. The government.
Yes.
It is just the invisible notion held to simply keep a person idealizing about people who are working on your behalf, but we can't actually point a finger at it. So anything you can't point a finger at doesn't exist. So what would I say the government is? A non-existent fashion of thoughts that are held together to keep people under a belief system in order to better coordinate their internal workings to become an industrial human resource.
So how does one transcend the idea of government, or the idea of not just government, or the idea of anything that's placed above your head to tell you to behave or not behave a certain way? How does one transcend that?
Sit at the king's table. It is an authorship. It's to know that you are the pen, that your body is the writer, that the author, the goal, the minor is in your voice, in your action. Every movie, every TV show, every action that you see from a political figure or an officer or whatever the case may be, this always starts with the question, how fast were you going? Do you know why I'm here tonight? Knock, knock, knock. May I come in? There is a point of which they accept and see your nobility, and the test is to whether or not you will stand up in that.
So what you're saying is, so if I remain still and I remain vigilant in my stillness and remain grounded to the soil that the soil that nurtured me, so you say my blood will.
I'm saying that there is in this sort a getaway card, that it truly is a return to point of origin. So it could be karma, but there is not an action that goes unseen. And so today it may appear that you are taken to a low road, but that is just, if you will, the minute perspective from the understanding, not the understanding, yet to be known, the overstanding. So it is to step into the ridiculous thought. Just as you would if you wore a badge and a gun, you would automatically believe that you held a higher sort of power than all of the people. And it's only because of a loaded gun and a badge. Those are symbols. The inner thought pattern is what I'm speaking to.
So what symbol exemplifies the inner thought pattern, or how does one acknowledge that symbol, or how does one even know there's a symbol?
How does a mother from Zimbabwe speak so profoundly when the child is possibly going through an immigration process to state in a matter of fact so that all those in the system know that this one belongs to me. How does that occur? How does the instinct for the mother to rise up to literally kill in order to protect her own? Who teaches or instills that? It is our birthright. The standing down, the dumbing down, the simplifying of our minds is what is going on. It's an unlearning. This is not to be learned. It's an unlearning that you are less than, that what you have is not yours, and what you give belongs to someone else in the first place. This is the problem.
So you said the simplifying of our minds is what's going on.
Yes.
So in the case of the mother not knowing that the child cannot be taken from them because that is my child.
Indeed.
How does one de-simplify the mind? How does one even know to engage the mind in that manner? How does one transcend?
How does one take a Tylenol with the notion that it can cure any part of the body that you tell it to go to? Granted, I realize that it causes eruptions in the stomach. It causes ulcers and it causes bleeding that causes the body to shift the order of operation and thereby give us a cessation to certain symptoms. And I'm nowhere at all advising that's something to take, but I am suggesting that it is a simple pill, but it opens up a door possibility for the human to see beyond into what would be considered to be impossible. So that power that makes me sit down with a person and have a dialogue, and because they're wearing a white coat, perceive that I'm getting better. You know, there's statistics that say that people will drive themselves to the emergency room, and the emergency room will miraculously become healed. And then meet a person and then tell them some of what they've been feeling and start to have a lessening of some of those issues.
And it's funny that I'm glad you said emergency room, because we have our own emergency room in our own body. And emergency, emerge and see. So one must emerge and see what's inside, what's internal.
You answered it.
Yes.
You answered it.
So that I believe you. I believe that you arrived to that. So thank you. Yes.
It's an honor. Do you have it in you? Would it be possible? And if not, we can edit it out. We'll take it out. I know there was something you were going to share, or if you will, a poem or poetry or wording that you had.
Oh yes.
Is that possible?
Oh yes.
And I have not heard it.
Yes, I can share it. Yes.
I would love for you to.
Okay. Yes.
And take your time. And at the same time, I have something I would like to follow up with. What a passionate improvisational communication system this is.
Oh yes, amazing, isn't it?
I'm grateful.
Oh yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Are you ready?
Indeed.
This is a poem. It's called "To Herself, a Lady Asked." She would say, "How have you grown, my son?" She would say, "I do not speak anymore, for now you have more than mind. Your spirit is alive in the air of your foot that caresses the hair of my skin." She would say, "Once I showed you fire for your cave. Now it is you that must ignite. Fluorescent flavored flowers fruitfully born of the same soil." She would say, "You're desperate for affection, so first set ablaze the mind's maze through inner reflection. There is no end in one's sight once one delves inside." She would say, "Keep playing them shooting games and ignoring my children's cries. I'll keep sending them hurricanes. And those are just my disappointed replies." She would say, "I do not resort to violence, but I will distort your resorts if you remain silent." And this is what a lady asked herself when she heard Mama Earth crying.
Profound. Profound. And answered clearly a summation of all that we speak of. And it's no longer a warning, it's a promise. And it is true that the energy that we put out returns. And it is not that we are any different than the officials that are following what they consider to be orders, the order followers, the ones that are told that they do it because it is a job, a J-O-B, a Job, a curse. The position is clear that we are, if you will, all of our keepers. We are charged as the mother. There is no one who is not a mother. And the concept of having and being, you say, fluorescent flowers, and the desperateness of what is, at this particular point, there's no question. We know what is proper. And it's the issue that we feel that we're...
And what is proper, if I may ask, if I may inquire?
Yes, the proper is not to take a child. The proper is not to give a child. The proper is to recognize that child is the term that's given to you by the government. You have a son or you have a daughter. You're not a parent. You are a father, You are a mother. The love extends from the usage and the power of the language. The mind virus is fed by usages of terms that are put out in media, social media, and now become adopted that disempower you from the position of that is your highest nobility.
Yes.
The highest nobility to be able to bring from formless world into form that which held in mind. You know, sex is not between the legs, it's between the ears. And it starts, if you will, the pineal gland. And this concept is so powerful that we're actually able to ignite our vagus nerve and all that is within us to unify, to, if you will, bring forth a life, really accept and bring ourselves into actual manifestation.
And it's funny, I love that you said that sex is in the mind. So what you're saying is, if I go to a father or a child that's been separated from another family member, essentially, if I have that nurture, that empowerment that says, hey, that's also my child, you're saying I can connect with them and our minds can intercourse, and then we can birth that same,
now you said
that same nurture.
Now you said it. So as we are sitting and waiting for children to be reunited, we need to also put our mind into the fact that the child is now separated and that we can make that connection. Just as I can send a text to someone and cellularly make the connection, that there are those who can reach out and be the hands, the eyes, the ears, the touch, the heartbeat for those that we love, and we're not separating, we're seeing the love as it is the unseparated aspect. It's the absence of anything other than all-inclusive. And this is the power behind this, is that we're no longer waiting to get our response. We're encouraging and speaking it to be so. The soul fashion is where the empowerment comes in. As long as we're sitting and saying, when are they going to come back together? Well, that's a question that only brings about a negative response.
Yes.
The question is no longer when, it is how much love can my child experience from all those that are me and other forms on this exact very plane.
So what you're saying is, they're not coming back together. They are together. They've never been separated. There have never been a separation. The only separation that's illusion to be is the fact that you're not my child, I'm not your child. That's the only separation. That's what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So essentially, if I claim to be your father, your mother,
yes,
your son,
yes,
then I can no longer be separated from his mother,
that's it,
his son,
that's it,
his child.
That's it.
Huh.
So I speak this. May your intuition be your experience. May the inner tuition, that you put tuition inside, be the experience of your outer. And in that, may the child no longer be, but the son, the daughter be, and the love is, and that we say and see on media, we accept only as its fiction, as we know the higher order of how the operation occurs.
And what is the higher order, if you may?
Love.
Love.
And spoken so simply, without any further explanation, it is truly all that is in every breath. There isn't ever a point in life when love isn't existing. It's like looking at a canvas and thinking it needs paint, but it's already its own color and form. And it is already all well. Now, this is where it gets into the concept where people go, well, you're speaking Pollyanna. If we don't speak Pollyanna, then we speak the opposite. And the idea of speaking into terms that are not in agreement with our highest alignment is the beginning of the end. So you cannot die if you've never been born. So if I stop saying the child, it has a birthday. No, the mother has a birthday. The child, pardon me, the son, the daughter is.
Oh, so I mean, you said the highest alignment. I love that, because highest alignment, I think that is one thing that we but also propagate to forget. And I say propagate because there are those that are aware of that highest alignment, and that highest alignment is love, but they don't see that as being a force that can be.
Oh, that's it.
That can be garnered.
Clarifying.
And so my highest alignment is whenever I walk into any room, any situation. For example, when you walk into a room, what is the first thing you see?
I smell.
You smell.
I smell.
You smell.
I speak with the breath. And I see an attraction. My eyes are permitted to create a value system around, but I also honor.
You see that? You said eyes. Eyes. I love that. For me, when I walk into a room, the first thing I see is the floor. Because my foot does the same.
All
Because
right.
my mind is there.
All right now.
That's where my mind is.
Indeed.
But that separation of, oh, my foot is there, but my mind is up here, is what creates that whole separation of, that's my child, but the parent's over there.
You got it.
So my mind is in my foot. So my foot sees everything.
Yes.
My mind is my foot. So there is no separation in me.
Yes.
So there should not be any separation in the child, the mother, regardless of any kind of wall put in between.
Yes.
So we should translate that love to the God on the other side of the wall.
Yes.
That's the mother now.
Yes.
So whoever's in close proximity to the child is the mother.
Yes.
Is the father.
Yes. So you're saying the placenta is no different in this particular outer fashion. It is still a type of what you would consider to be a separation, but actually it's a home.
Yes.
And there's a provision.
Yes, there is. Yeah, it's only a prison when we name it to be a prison. So the child is in prison because I just called it a prison.
All right, now you got it. You're
So
giving it.
if the God is there, or whoever is with the child, that's the father. Who looks at a child and says, that's a prisoner right there? Nobody.
Clear.
But we say it. And we want to believe it. No one believes this.
Clear. And you speak something I'm going right to is if you ask someone, where are you in your body? People typically say their head, they'll say their solar plexus. We are the body. The body is the concept of all of us. The brain is just a component. We've been told these are words, but without the usage of words, in here, I am from soul to crown. And the owning and a disempowering concept is we think of, if you will, something owning. My feet only own this part, my ankle owns that part. And this starts in nursery school. Hip bone connected to thigh bone, the concept. But we are.
But it's catchy, is it not?
It's very.
The catchiness, that's what it is. It's the catchiness. You just said it there yourself. The hip bone's connected to the and then all of a sudden you forget.
Fragments.
Yes, you become fragmented and your mind becomes fragmented.
So may we be swaddled.
Yes.
May we be wrapped and may we be whole.
Yes.
Living out the whole vibration in fullness. I come calmly to a pause only because I sense that this has met its meter.
Yes.
We made preparation for other dialogue because that's what one would do in preparation for a video insertion. But the passion has taken us in a clearly more evident direction. It's a pleasure to flow with you.
It's a pleasure. It is indeed.
It's an honor.